Chairperson and Secretary, Committee Kiena, and you also, you are part of this committee. All alliance partners, Chairperson and Secretaries, Leagues, my apology for that, Leagues, comrade. So then, thank you so much, comrade. Chama ikarwa hwene so ba secretary ba o pheta ntate ba re committee ke. Comrade, let's proceed with our agenda. Now, comrade, we are going to launch a book. As leadership alluded yesterday, that today we are going to launch a book. So then, let me call upon Ntate Tamika Blaki to come and introduce the book to us. Akisabona le mahlo ntate. Oh, kwena wona. Come forward, Ntate waka. Thank you so much.
Mandinike imbeko kuba bonke ebafaneleyo. Mandinike inhlonipho kuba bonke abayinqwenelayo. Mandinike ingqalelo kuba bonke abaxhamla ubomi. Igama lami ndinguthamsanqa kaPlatyi, uxhamela uNonkwindla uGabulukhulu. Ndibulise isikhokhelo esikhokhela lo mbutho omkhulu, umbutho wesizwe. Ndibulise uchairperson omtsha osandungena esihlalweni. Ndibulise ingqanga ezimngandileyo neentsiba zazo. Ndibulise isikhokhelo sika-national, uComrade Besane, olapha namhlanje. Ngidumedise boetapele, additional members who have been appointed to lead this region. Ngiyalidumedisa. Ka selemo sa 2022 in early the 21st of September, hakitola call esang Comrade Jason Mkwane. Are honna region ya bona executive committee bankile qeto ya hore they must commission a book ya ntate Dumalisile PS Philemon Nokwe. Kya monza hore jwale call ha etla honna ka mabaka afeng na. The intention is that I'm the one who has been commissioned to write the book. I felt honored, I felt flattered coming from the VAL, or there is some recognition of what I can do to contribute to the making of this book. It became a long journey. Interview abantu. Uthola batho ba tsebang Ntate Tumanokwe le tla hopola re Ntate Tumanokwe o hlale ka 1927 o hlakatse ka 1978 uthola batho ana phela le bona uthola batho ba mo tsebang inesintwe ebobebe. He died in exile in Lusaka. He was buried in the Leopards Kriel Cemetery. So the first onerous task in uthola batho ene ba mo tseba. Task ya bobedi was to also identify the family. As a result, the majority of the family at Tumanokwe is Everton. That is why the regional executive in the book must cover the aspect of the birthplace of Comrade Tumanokwe. Everton. In the book, midwife. Me Ethel Nkomo, ekina nang bomme ba VAL ba Women's League, tlamele at some point ba Muhlompe. Me Ethel Nkomo hlele ka 1901. Aya Cecilia Makiwane, I trained as a midwife for 20 years. Kena fela ala pepisa bomme ba Everton. Atsamaya ka bicycle. Mema Ethel Nkomo anatsamaya ka maoto until community kopansa chelete. Bamorekela bicycle or atsamaya from house to house. Bamuhirali assistant. Ene tsamale ene tswere beke ya hae. Hae na khanna bicycle imata pela hae mona. Bakena ntole ntlo ba pepisa ba mme ba Everton. Tumanokwe ha hlaya o la pepiswa ke mme Ethel Nkomo. Ekena nang tlamele at some point re Mohlompe. Le ntlo ya hae ntse le teng Everton. Ya Masenke. Corrugated, rusted as it is, it still stands defiantly as an anthem, and a testification of what she did. In the process of all book, only approaches approach appeal and approach otherizing. In philosophy, there's a concept called otherizing. How an accident, by 10, but involved in the accident. Supposing omu wabona mani kintate pesane. Awani tate pesane wati bisahala. Hari tola results batore ushule batu by 10 impandate pesane o survivile. Kotsinya kolo ene linteng ntate mbalula o survivile batu wabang baba raro balimezi batoti dikotsi. So baba bararo wa. They are not mentioned as if they are insignificant. Baba Bararu, they are being otherized. It is others. So the reason why Resatibi Kabupilo Bankontate Tumanokwe is simply because he has suffered the casualty of being otherized. The unfortunate part was Tumanokwe played his political craft at the time of political heavyweights. In Elinako, the heavyweight is a whole in the body politic of South Africa. There's never been a time in the South African history where the South African population, especially the black people, have been lavishly endowed with the caliber of the leadership we had in the 1950s. Neral Ntate Zakaria Kiudirelang Matthews, the first black person to obtain a BA degree in 1922 at Fort Hare University. Neral Ntate Albert Luthuli, Neral Joe Slovo, Neral many leaders, Ntate Mahabane, Ntate Moroka, so Ntate Mandela, Ntate Sisulu, Ntate Tambo. So for the fact that Comrade Dumanokwe was forgotten is simply because Anata Maya, he was in the company of giants. The giants then need him overweigh, need him overshadow. That is why Harakwana Mwana, he could not come out. We could not speak about Dumanokwe and his contribution because he was flanked by these giants. Joe Slovo, Ruth First, Helen Joseph, we were spoiled for political choice. The 1950s represent an epitome in the life cycle at the political zone. So we're saying in the book, we are contesting the principle of otherizing. Even in the play, only main actor, other actors are supposed to be followers, or they're called untitled extras. Dumanokwe was treated unfairly by the pages of history to be relegated into the status of the other, or into the status of a fellow traveler, or into the status of an untitled extra. He was not an untitled extra. In the choir, there's a lead singer that are supporting actresses or supporting singers. We say in the book, Dumanokwe was not an entitled extra. He had a voice, he had a personality, he had a representation, and the book is trying to manifest that representation. He stands on his own. He holds his own. He became even bigger than his own teachers. In the book, he worked about 3 teachers who taught Dumanokwe at St. Peter's in Rosettenville. That school still stands. We visited, we took pictures, they are part of the pictures in the book. Teacher ya pele nele Reginald Oliver Tambo. Teacher ya bobedi nele Victor Sefora. Teacher ya boraro nele Ntate Congress Mbata. Ke batla ho divert hanyane ke bua ka Congress Mbata. Ka 1949, batho ba top location are demolished and a new township is created called Sharpeville. And Sharpeville is named after the mayor of Renacheng, Mr. Sharp, in the same way as Orlando was established and founded or named after the mayor of Johannesburg. Batho ba Sharpeville ho qalwa sekolo. Masipala kapa the Renacheng City Council insista hore lebitso la sekolo sena must be lekwa. Batho ba Sharpeville ba hana. Ba qeta ho hira principal o motjha, the same Congress Mbata. But the school has the School of Congress. Has lebitso la tishera wa pele wa sekolo seo. Maburu a hana hobane lebitso la Congress has undertones and political ramifications. After a long battle, sekolo se sa bulwi because una le ntwa ka taba ya sekolo seo. Congress Mbata called the community a re ke batla compromise. Let's use the name ya lekwa, but don't use my name. Rather use my clan name. Bombata Kibo Shandu. That is why school was called Lekwa Shandu. So Congress Mbata was a colleague, Comrade Oliver Tambo. I also talk about 3 students, Alfred Hutchison and Henry Mahoti. The 3rd student was Dumalisile Nokwe. In all 3 of them, he was the most brilliant. In all 3 of them, he was the most cerebral. Bari, I can't never get in school. Bari, how saying breakfast, he was the last one to wake up. And every time by classing, he did not even have a textbook. Dumanokwe was the first student to apply for the membership of the Communist Party. It was never about the Communist Party. Never Youth League. Youth League was allowed. AP Mdal Mbede would come and have discussions, etc. But no student was allowed to join the Communist Party because the missionaries had deemed communism as a heresy. It was heretic. So Dumanokwe wrote a motivation and a special plea to the principal of the school to be exempted from joining the Youth League. He joined the Youth League when he arrived at Fort Hare in 1947, and he was exempted. We tried to look for that certificate of exemption. in the sequel of the book. There are 3 things that define Comrade Tumanokwe, which I want to summarize very quickly. Yapili, he possessed the fecundity of thought, Comrade Pesan. Fecundity is the fertility of the mind. He was largely endowed and gifted. He possessed that fecundity. From hona le batho ba bana le talente, e seng talente ya hore o sebetsa ha bima, talente ya hore modimo o file yona to shine in the midst of others. So he possessed the fecundity of thought. Yabobedi, that defined him, lucidity of expression. Ana khona bua sekgowa, e seng sekgowa se lena le lona re se buang, sekgowa sa makgowa. He bedazzled the missionaries in his presentation, lucidity. Opole there were debates. St. Peter's, he competed in school assessing Pretoria. St. Andrews, he competed in Wilberforce. These were the popular, famous high schools. In all of those competitions, Tumanokwe came out tops because he possessed the lucidity of expression. Yaboraro, he possessed the felicity of diction. Comrade Slongwan. The felicity of he could write. Eloquent, but angole, as a honor translator, his ideas into print. It's rare, it's a good quality, rarely found for a person to traverse ability to think, ability to be loquacious, and ability to write. Charles Darwin, in the scheme of civilization, on the stages that are the first people are called the Homo sapiens. They are the Homos because they could speak, they are sapiens because they could think. The second one, they can write or they can speak. They are called the Homo loquas, to possess the ability to speak. The third group, they are called the Homo scriptus. It's a rare talent, ability to write. Tumanokwe possessed all 3. He could think, he could speak, and he could write. In the book, I was also born in Everton, so the book gave me an opportunity to go back where I was born. Ribuaka Everton, it was only first freehold rights area where black people could own land. But about to never title deed, that is why Everton is under Maspala. Everton is the superintendent. But wabangata babatu, banebana talent, yabe asimoya, yabo ngoma, yabo profeta, baileba Everton kabungata. Mema mangu, at the very early age of 13, abona pono, erin she must establish kereke hayeza, even at the minyako 812. Ntate Lord Makemele, abona pono, ale standardin, aya pono ha ere for the Sabato, prophetic church, kausebisa miti. Aya Orlando, asebisa miti mangata, city council, mongola ngolo, no abuse miti, ibe kwala pompo. Haba kwala pompo ya hae, aketela izang, atla Everton. Wan Everton nchapila la yeza kuweza piti. Mo metsi ana tswa teng batho ba batlile ba sebediswa metsi ao hoba hore ba fole etc. So most African people, including those who were expelled from the farms during the 1913 Land Act, batala budulo Everton. So Everton became the epicenter of the gravity and a place of refuge for most Africans. So Tumanokwe o hola plekeng eo abona maemo a dipolitiki tsa Everton. Mema Charlotte Maxeke hana qala sekolo se bitswang Wilberforce. O tsamaile a America qeta ho nyala monna hae from my surname, which is a maiden surname, to Maxeke. Abata establish ama missionaries ba di Presbyterian ba batla mo fa tšhelete wa sekolo. O la ya Everton. Because ke mo batho ba batsho ne bana le lefatshe teng. It's a Wilberforce, it's a Jordan, it's a other centers, even the theological. So Everton. What we also did, Comrade Jason, Relera Everton, Motumano Kwatla is in day. ka nka bana ba Tumanokwe ra ba isa Everton ha re fetla Everton ntlo e nkiwe ke batho ba bang and batho bao ne ba sa batle hore re kene mo hobane ba nana re tlo repossessa ntlo eo re tlo ba nkela ntlo eo hobane ka di 50s batho ha ba exile masipala ka nako e anang ka ntlo ya hao a fana ka yona ntlo ya ntate Walter Sisulu small farm re ra thola le yona ba la ba fana ka yona so batho ba dula mo ha so khutla hape banana ba tlo ba nkela bodulo hobane for dilemo tse 30 or 4 ne ba le plekeng eo. So in the book we try to cover Everton. I just want to pick in summary. We cover Everton and the history of Everton, but also we cover the history of Fort Hare. Tumanokwe ya Fort Hare akopana le moratuwa wa hae Metaini Malangabi anahlaya kwaLanga ka 1949 ha qeta sekolo sa hae. Unfortunately, because of the adventures of youth, I impregnated mosadi wa hae ka selemo sa hae sa ho qetela sekolong. That's why first bona Metaini, who was a very close friend at Thabo Mbeki, o lahla ka selemo sa 1949. Ka 1950 a thola mosebetsi Manziville, sekolong sa Manziville High. Principal a teng Ntate Mutupa na hla Everton o qualified vets ka 1937 a qala sekolo seo a batla the best brains in the country. Aya Salisbury, Nelly Salisbury was Zimbabwe. Alata one of the best mathematician wa Africa, wa South Africa. Ahlahetseng Alwa North, alatsa ma thola mosebetsi mo. Lebitso la hae le WT Kambule. Ramtseba ola ba professor Metsi mane vets. O latuwe ke Ntate Mutupa hore a khutle a tlo teacher maths. Ntate Mutupa a sheba hape a who else alata Ntate Tumanokwe. Ntate Tumanokwe qualified with the BSc. Distinction in mathematics and chemistry from Fort Hare University, even from St. Peter's. That's why he got a bursary to go to Fort Hare, fully paid up, because anapasite a whole. So in the book, we touch base on that one. But the last part I want to speak to, which is covered in the book, is the treason trial. Tumanokwe is appointed by Thabo Mbeki, sorry, not by Ntate Mandela. Babona talent hae ba mo kenya branching ya Orlando ba qetela ba mo kenya NWC, National Working Committee. That National Working Committee was established in 1945 ke Ntate Xuma abatla batho ba haufinyana because ba bane ba le kwa ba le hole for the administration. Let's have a committee e tlo bana le radius 20 kilometer radius from head office. They constituted the first time. It was an innovation on his part of a National Working Committee. Ntate Tumanokwe served in the National Working Committee. He became a secretary, an administrative secretary of the National Working Committee. Babana talent high bookkeeping, writing minutes until Bamukenya in the NEC. Until 1958, he was Secretary General for ANC at a conference that was held in Pietermaritzburg. A motivator, Ntate Walaza, Ntate Kongo, was the Treasurer General. The ANC Kana Maburu did not understand why but Kopana clip down Freedom Charter. Why this thing? So they thought no, Kema Communist, they want to, especially when the Freedom Charter was finally declared and read. But decided, got the 6th December 1956, Habato Baitugi says at the festivities of Batswara. 157 people were arrested. Kana koi one. It shows the efficiency of the system in Maburu. Let's talk about 157 nationally. Kimberley, Kurumani, Polokwane, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, villages at the same time. Batlega di helicopter babang. Batlega di base. That is that came to the hangwala booking are Nikituki says a lot my final notes because was a deputy director at Fort Hare. Maburu again, banking lady documents, and they use those documents in court. Fast forward, colleagues, without belaboring the point. Court Oyakala 156. 1947, 57, Maburu and Kekaitor no, but one babang, they're not necessary in the case. Osale by 30. And the court case was removed from Joburg to Pretoria. They opened a synagogue. They converted a synagogue into a high court. 30 people stood in that court. Oliver Tambo was one of those people who were excused, and that is why immediately Samaya were exiled. Samaya were exiled. That's why the first cohort left, and the 30 people remained. They were represented by 3 distinguished judges, so 3 distinguished senior counsels. Fast forward. Nasen Onali Ausibareki Helen Joseph, booking a high or every day, Nevada Johannesburg, Banga base, say 2. It was called a Congress bus by a Pretoria casing. Arbar Mandela and Asabatu Palama base. Mandela Natamali, Helen Joseph, Kakoloya Yatizoto. One Mandela and since he was a royalty. So she writes in that book about the experiences. Mandela bothered including Horton. The day we are liberated, I want to stay in that house. And it turns out that, I am not sure, it turns out that when Mandela went and stayed in Lower Horton, my suspicion was maybe maybe Kintwana Nakhalela Santana Lemnyane Alikot. Let me try and conclude. Kaselemasa 1960, there's an outbreak in Sharpeville. Kati 28, it's a March in Maburu, I issue what was called, it becomes a state of emergency. And the state of emergency, one of the issues called, even the judges or the lawyers in court, by asking you certain questions, they might themselves be implicating themselves for arrest. So as a result, the lawyers are one as Ankakreto, our Rebafetu, Haulichena, Arasatola Piele, Holy Emela Nyewing in. Says our way represent until the state of emergency is rescinded. During that time, for 3 months, they had no legal representation. Nebasnamo Emedi Anaya Koto Ilobabuela. Kimo Bankile Kreto Deng, which is what we call causality in the poor. Why Tumanok? What is so special about Tumanok? This is one of the most special features they high. In that tapestry of silence, that ominous place of silence, the colleagues Kaufela, Mandela, Joe Slovo, Kaufela Bona, Bankile Kreto Yauri, the only person who's best qualified, who is an advocate in our ranks, Koenantate Tumanok. He was junior to them. They showed confidence. No, you are the only one to represent us. In the place of 3 senior counsels who had left the scene. When the appointed date came, and the judges, Stumpf, he was a hanging judge, Stumpf called the session to order about a legal representation. And the Stumpf about no, but on what account? On account of the fact that I'm the first black advocate. Where are your credentials? The credentials are high. And he was surprised. These are the judges who are used to sentence people to jail, to death. These are the judges who are used to petty offenders. The cases are rape, the cases are, for the first time, they came across the black qualified advocate. And his name was Dumali Sile Philemon Nokwe, born and bred in the dusty city of Everton. So ordinarily, when you appear in high court, there must be an instructing attorney. Lesser qualified, who gives you a brief. So the judge asked, who is your instructing attorney? And he says, my instructing attorney is Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. So at that moment, Mandela became a junior to Tumanokwe. At that moment, Mandela became otherized. At that moment, Tumanokwe held the crown and wore the crown and took the pedal and the pedestal. And the rest is history. So, I've tried to stay true to the responsibility. Inkile nako e ngata, wa tseba buka bana o dule, sometimes it takes time from your family. This is the second book. The first book, ke bua ntate Pesane, ke buka Free State that we have done, which we have almost finished. Tlameha re tlo launcha selemong se tlang. In conclusion, ke batla ho leboha the regional leadership ya ANC. It's not fashionable hore ANC commission e buka ka batho ba yona. Dibuka tse ngata tse ngotsweng ka batho ba ANC di ngotswe ke makgowa. You look at buka ya Oliver Tambo, ke makgowa. You look at buka ya Nelson Mandela, ke makgowa. Even the long walk to freedom, Mandela e ngola ka boyena. He hired people, he was telling them the story, a bua di taping, a kenya di taping, ba ngola batla ho yena. It's rare that we have shown confidence in our own. Ke bone le monyetla o moholo to be entrusted this responsibility, and I said to Comrade Jason, re tla etsa with our best ability. Re tlo etsa in such a way that this book must also be prescribed by universities. We will try to push for quality, because this was a quality person. There was a time when the professor was supposed to come here, Professor Zite. We will sit with them, the restaurant in Zafanda Bailey. Sitting in Sebartebela, from Villa Verde to Horse and River to going through the manuscript, page by page. Comma, full stop, hyphen, verb, pronoun. Those are the root of education is called on the grammar. We had to go through those things step by step to ensure that the book is beyond reproach. So, Kiribata Leboha, the leadership, especially Comrade Jason. Comrade Jason, Ubonsite. It's rare for ANC leaders to hold your hand like this. He was not just taking my calls, but he was also putting pressure. How far are you? How far are you? How far are you? He showed an interest in this product. So this is a legacy and an anthem to the leadership of Comrade Jason. In English, he stewarded the process with parental solicitude. As kids in England. Yeah, the city. So, come and down, Diabulela. The Bamangas Bini, Quincocaine, Nestreba Sake, Comsebenz Omhlaba Teleswenze. Colonia Kozayang, the 21st March. A Taber launcher, an updated version. A Taber launcher for the public. A launcher Val University, Freedom Park, Kai. Enaki in-house. That's why it's not for sale. It will update with few editions, few chapters. It will last lemon setlang. Come on, Leboha. Comrade Mlungis, here's a baton. Here's an example that the previous leadership has set. We look forward to your tenure and what you hold in store for us. Dabule.
Enkosi Maqabane. Hayi niziqhwabile izandla. Ngeke ndithi niziqhwabe futhi hayi niziqhwabile. Ndanele. Masibulele Tatu Plaki. Siyabulela kakhulu. Especially xa siva ukuthi iEverton ine history nayo. Thina abantu base Everton. Thina abantu base Everton, abantu base Tivas. Viva Everton, viva! Viva Everton, viva! Amandla! Thank you so much. I hear that Everton is here. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much, comrade. Comrade, we are going to hand this book officially to IQ, to HQ, because it was a national and international HQ comrade. So then we know that, as Ndate Plaki alluded, that it came from the previous leadership. Now there's new leadership that must take this baton and take it forward. So then I'm going to call upon the regional secretary, comrade. Okay, noted, comrade. Okay. Kibuka ke ga wa thola buka. Okay. Okay. No. We'll make sure Ntate Ntore the comrades sa tholang buka di fumane buka morao man. Di comrade dia. Oh, le bangata. Okay. Oh, le Everton. Oh. Okay, no, it's all right. It's all right. So then, comrade, I'm going to call upon our RS, comrade Jason Mukwani. Okay, RS Waro.
Mandla. Yeah, comrades, we officially want to hand over this research work that was done by the previous leadership. This is one of the legacy projects that the previous leadership will always cherish, archive it for future generations. In the organizational report, we did indicate that there are two important legacy projects that we undertook. The first one was rebuilding of the regional office. The previous conferences renamed that house after Dumanogwe. So the previous leadership then had to, after rebuilding the offices, had to ask, who is Comrade Dumanogwe? So that is why it was important that we undertake this important research work. And I want to thank Comrade Tameka Plaki, because we did not want to look outside Everton. We had to check from the community of Everton, who is well conversant, who is well learned to undertake this research. So this book meets the academic standard. So when we hand it over to the organization, we are therefore saying this is an intellectual property of the organization. This is one of the legacy projects that we want the HQ to always honor it, protect it, and in our engagement with the SG, before we went to Lusaka, because our own region was the one that also unlocked the repatriation processes of Comrade Dumanogwe. We went to Lusaka, but we did not just go to Lusaka. We went to the HQ, we met with the SG, told the SG that these are our plans. So we were supposed to have went with the SG to Lusaka so that at least the organization must take ownership. So it means, comrades, this book belongs to the ANC. Whether Comrade Jason is there or not there, it must be owned. That is why officially we want to make it symbolic, comrades. And like Comrade Tani has indicated, this is just an account of the previous leadership. I did emphasize in the organizational report that we felt it's very important that we must make sure that at least we account to conference about the work that we have done. So it means because his legacy and history lives on, we will therefore, comrades, make sure that at least we have identified two critical launches that we want. March 21 perhaps as a build-up campaign, we may have, because Sharpeville has been mentioned, we may have to look at the possibility of ensuring that